In this video, I'm going to answer the question, what are the 5 areas of personal development? The way this video is going to go, I'm going to give you an overview of all 5 areas quickly, and then I'm going to dive a little more deeply into each one. Now, here's the thing about the 5 areas of personal development. You want to be firing on all your cylinders. Each of these 5 areas is critically important. And if you have a really big deficiency in one area, it's actually going to affect all of the areas. So here's a quick overview of the 5 areas. Now, this is my beautiful representation of a human body with 5 layers. The first layer, this black layer, is the physical layer. That's your body. The second layer is the emotional body. The third layer is your mental. The fourth layer is social relational. And the fifth layer is your spiritual. That's why it's represented by these little energetic little flickers around you. Now, the reason that I've depicted the layers in this way is because a lot of times we can imagine that the parts of our lives are compartmentalized, like there's these 5 areas, physical, emotional, mental, whatever. But really it's much more like this. And it starts from the inside, from the physical body outward, as we express energy outward. So this first layer is the skin and bones, physical body. That's our life force energy. And what creates our life force energy is how we fuel ourselves. So the food that we eat, whether we're sleeping, how we take care of our vessel, of our physical temple. Now, very closely related to our physical well-being is our emotional well-being. And the reason that that's a layer outside of it is because actually our emotional center is our heart. So science has discovered that our heart pumps out a wave of electricity. It's actually energy that can be measured. We've known this for decades, actually. But what's more new knowledge and information is that that wave, that signal that the heart pumps out, is encoded in that wave. What is encoded in that wave is our emotional state. We're literally projecting our emotions out from our body, and other people can feel that. Now, the third level here, that mental layer, is our mind, right? Our intellectual mind that's operating. And the reason that I've placed it here in this third position is because we can project our thoughts out through our voice. We can create things with our mind that we can now project, even around the world, actually, when you think about it. But essentially, that third layer, that mental layer, is often also very closely tied to our emotions. Our emotions often are what cause us to express something verbally or create something or involve our mind in activating something. So that's that mental layer. Now, what I've put next is the part that starts to touch others, the social or relational layer, where we start to interact with other beings, right? In our fields, if you think about these as fields of energy and even electricity coming out from our bodies, as we get closer to other people, our fields start to interact with other fields. And so this social layer represents our intimacy, our relationships, our family, our friends, our relationships to others in the world. And then finally, I have this outer layer, which is the spiritual realm. It's the energetic of what's beyond us. And what's interesting is that the more and more you start to study different religions and you start to even study quantum physics, the more you see that actually we're not separate from each other. We're actually entangled and inextricably intertwined with each other. And so that layer of spirituality is what is bigger than us, what is beyond us, what binds us and connects us all to each other. And so these layers, they interact with each other, right? So the physical layer, if we're feeling tired, if we're feeling lethargic, unfueled, sick, right? That's going to impact our emotional state, which might impact our mental state. And we might have anxiety. We might be less inclined to create something in the world, which might impact how we relate to other people and the relationships we have, and obviously the relationship that we have with the divine. So these layers are not distinct. They're not separate from each other, they operate together. And so when you want to develop yourself, when you want to improve your life, you want to look at all of the layers. And number one, looking at where are you strongest? What do you have that's really dialed in? And also, obviously, where are you weak? What are the areas of your life that are suffering or struggling? Because chances are that's limiting your entire being and your entire life and your whole future and your whole development. Now, before I get into my own story and an example, a very tangible example of how this all works, I do want to invite you to subscribe to my channel, like this video, shoot me a comment below, and maybe even click that alert button so that you'll find out about my future videos. So I want to share with you a little bit about my personal story, because it helps to not only explain this with an example, but also to understand how I learned about this and why I'm somebody you might want to listen to. See, I learned all about this stuff the hard way. So back then, during those first many years of my career, I was almost exclusively focused on the mental. I was always trying to figure things out. I was always focused on how to get ahead in my career, how to make more money, how to organize my life so that it would be better. And a distant second to that, in addition to the mental piece, was the social and relational. And part of that was an escape method. In other words, I was so focused on the mental and it was causing me so much anxiety that I needed to let off steam on the weekends or at night or whatever. And so then I would go out and I would party and I would hang out with friends. So really the only two areas of my life that I was really focused on were the mental and the social relational. The physical, I wasn't taking good care of myself. I was partying like a rock star. I was waking up early to work more. I was drinking heavily. And basically none of those things were contributing to my life force energy. So I was drinking a lot of coffee in the morning to get myself going. And then I was so wired I could barely sleep at night. In terms of my heart, my emotional body, or my emotional, the emotional part of my life, that was pretty much non-existent. My heart was locked up like a treasure chest. I wasn't really letting anybody get too close or too deep because I was so busy like working, or letting off steam. And then finally, there absolutely was no spiritual connection whatsoever. And so as a result, it's interesting. I thought I was making so much progress with all this mind and, all this busy work that I was doing. But actually, when I finally had a breakdown, because that's what it took for me to figure out what was going on, and I finally started to focus on my body, and I started to meditate and do yoga and eat healthy, and I started to open my heart, and I started to process old wounds and old resentments that had been kind of locking me up for a really long time, and I started to open to the idea of something spiritual, something beyond me. It's really interesting because then all of a sudden the mental piece clicked in to high gear in a whole new way. I had so many more ideas, so much more energy, so much more came through in my business. My business grew, my relationships naturally got better, my social life, I stopped drinking, I stopped partying, but I had more friends than ever. And so it's just interesting how we sometimes think that if we focus in this one area, then that's all we need to do to grow that area. But actually, my message to you, and what I hope you take away from this video, is that when you really focus on the integration of all 5 of these areas, then everything up levels and uplifts. If you're interested in personal development, and especially if you're a personal development coach or consultant or expert in some way, and you're looking to build and grow your business, let's connect. You can find me and schedule time with me to see about my programs and services at superstaractivator.com/go, or you can just click on the link below.